There was a walk organised for anybody for the Brighton to Brentford walk overnight on I don't know what night it was. It presumably was a Friday night. I can't remember now. But strange enough, a friend of mine who was not in the slightest bit interested in football. I was living in West Drayton at the time. He lived nearby. A good friend of mine. He said he quite fancied coming on it as well. And we were taken by a coach down to Brighton, I suppose it was the seafront, and started walking. I'm afraid my walking wasn't up to the required standard. We didn't do bad. We did 16 miles. And I think I raised the princely sum of about £2, which sounds ridiculous nowadays, but 1967 was a fair amount of money. And of course we got picked up by the coach. By the time we got back here, the famous Tommy Higginson, who virtually ran it, I think, he was already back and we'd only done 16 miles. But it was it was one of these strange things. It was a lot of fun, but there again, there was the whole seriousness behind it that, everybody felt the same, that, no way were we going to let this happen, Of all teams, Queen's Park Rangers, of course.
Well, I'm still aching now. I somehow managed to complete 35 miles, but the main thing there it's not so much the money we raised, it was that we showed the spirit. It was actually good fun as well because it was well organised. We started off from the Brighton seafront the evening before, and I can still picture Tom Higginson jogging along, in fact sprinting along the seafront just to get himself ticking over before the walk. But he was a super fit chap as well. But then we walked off through the night, and many of us gave up on the way, different levels, and then there was a coach that was bringing us back, which meant that the majority of us were back in time for the person who finished first, which was the late great Tom Higginson. And we were here in the forecourt of Griffin Park to cheer him as he crossed the entrance.
I know as a result of that, there was a Tom Higginson fan club set up because he was the only player that had his own fan club, and there was a girl that organised it, and I can remember I had a badge called I Dig Hig, which was the fan club motto, and you got a signed photo of him and all sorts of things. It was, but that came out of the walk, not just for his playing, his performances on the pitch, but his determination to do this for the club as well.
I went with Peter Gelson and Gordon Phillips, and as I said to you, we made it as far as Crawley, which I thought was quite good. And then in the early hours of the morning, it must have been sort of 3:30, 4 o'clock, it was starting to get light, and we saw a milk float. And we got some milk off the milkman, and we asked him if he could give us a lift to the phone box on the main road, and otherwise we were stranded. So we did, and I rang up my wife's uncle at the time, and he said, "I'll come and pick you up." So then we came back here.
Although Ron Blindell, who really wrote out the cheque that saved the club, although some people say he was a prickly character, I think it impressed him. And in fact, when certificates like this were given out, Ron Blinder was there, and he gave a speech, and I know the whole effort of that walk and the other efforts from the supporters club greatly impressed him. I think it showed him we were worth backing.